And David passed some little way from the Ruse, and behold, there was Seba, the lad of Mephibosheth, to meet him, and a couple of donkeys fully laden, and upon them 200 loaves of bread, and 100 raisins, and 100 dates, and a nabal of wine. And the king said to Seba, Why do you have these things? And Seba said, The draught animals are for the household of the king to sit upon, and the loaves of bread and the dates for food for the lads, and the wine for those who are faint in the wilderness to drink. And the king said, And where is the son of your master? And Seba said to the king, Behold, he sits in Jerusalem. For he said, Today the house of Israel will return to me the kingdom of my father. And the king said to Seba, Behold, everything is yours that belongs to Mephibosheth. And doing obeisance, Seba said, May I find favor in your sight, my lord, O king. And King David came to Ba-urim, and behold, a man from the kinfolk of the house of Saul went out from there, and his name was Samai, son of Gerah. He came out, going out and cursing and stoning with stones, David and all the servants of King David. And there were all the people, and all the powerful men were on the right and on the left of the king. And thus Shimei kept saying while he cursed, Get out, man of blood and lawless man. The Lord returned on you all the blood of the house of Saul, for you became king in his stead, and the Lord gave the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. And behold, you are in your bad state, for you are a man of blood. And Abessa son of Saruiah said to the king, Why does this dead dog curse my lord the king? I will surely walk over and take off his head. And the king said, What have I to do with you, O sons of Saruiah? Leave him alone, and so let him curse, because the Lord told him to curse David. And who shall say, To what end did you do so? And David said to Abessa and to all his servants, Behold, my son who came out of my belly seeks my life. And now besides, the son of the Gemini, leave him alone to curse, because the Lord told him. If somehow the Lord may look on my humiliation, then he will return to me good things in place of his curse this day. And David and his men went on the road, and Shimei was going by the side of the mountain next to him, going and cursing and stoning with stones from his flanks and sprinkling with dirt. And the king came and all his people, exhausted, and they recovered there. And Absalom and every man of Israel entered into Jerusalem, and Achitophel was with him. And it happened when Cusi the Archi, a companion of David, came to Absalom, that Cusi said to Absalom, Let the king live. And Absalom said to Cusi, Is this your mercy with your companion? Why did you not go away with your companion? And Cusi said to Absalom, No, but hereafter he whom the Lord and this people and every man of Israel have chosen, his I will be, and with him I will sit. And secondly, to whom will I be subject? Is it not in the presence of his son? Just as I was subject in the presence of your father, so I will be in your presence. And Absalom said to Achitophel, Bring forth counsel among yourselves, what we should do. And Achitophel said to Absalom, Go into the concubines of your father, whom he left behind to keep his house, and all Israel will hear that you put your father to shame, and the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened. And they pitched the tent for Absalom upon the roof. And Absalom went into the concubines of his father in the sight of all Israel. And the counsel of Achitophel, which he counseled in the former days, was as if one were to inquire by a word of God. So was all the counsel of Achitophel, and indeed to David, and indeed to Absalom. And Achitophel said to Absalom, I will now choose for myself 12,000 men, and I will set out and pursue closely after David tonight. And I will come suddenly upon him, and he will be weary and faint in hands. And I will astound him, and all the people who are with him shall flee. And I will strike only the king all alone. And I will turn all the people back to you, as a bride turns back to her husband. You seek only the life of one man, and there will be peace for all the people. And the saying was right in the sight of Absalom, and in the sight of all the elders of Israel. And Absalom said, Do call indeed Cusi the Archi, and let us hear what is in his mouth, indeed his. And Cusi went in to Absalom, and Absalom said to him, saying, According to this word Ahithophel spoke, shall we act according to his saying? But if not, you speak. And Cusi said to Absalom, This counsel that Ahithophel counseled this one time is not good. And Cusi said, You know your father and his men, that they are very powerful, and downright bitter in their spirit, as a bear robbed of her young in a field, and as a savage sow in the plain. And your father is a man of war, and he shall not lodge with the people. For behold, he himself is now hidden in one of the hills, or in one of the places. And it shall be, when he falls upon them at first, and if the hearer hears and says, There has been a slaughter among the people who are behind Absalom, and indeed a son of power himself, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, melting it shall melt away, for all Israel knows that your father is powerful, and those who are with him are sons of power. For in advising I so advised, that all Israel being gathered, shall be gathered together to you, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand by the sea for multitude, and your face going in their midst. And we shall come to him in one of the places where we may find him there, and we shall encamp against him, as the dew falls on the ground, and we shall not leave behind among him, and the men who are with him indeed one. And if he is gathered into a city, then all Israel will take ropes to that city, and we shall drag it as far as to the wadi, in order that not even a stone may be left behind there. And Absalom and every man of Israel said, The counsel of Cusi the Archi is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. And the Lord commanded to scatter abroad the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that the Lord might bring all evil upon Absalom. And Cusi the son of the Archi said to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, Thus and so Ahithophel advised Absalom, and the elders of Israel, and thus and so I advised. And now send quickly and tell David, saying, Do not lodge tonight in Araboth of the wilderness, and indeed hasten crossing over, lest one swallow up the king and all the people who are with him. And Jonathan and Achimaas stood by the spring of Rogel, and the servant girl went and told them, and they would go and tell King David, for they could not be seen to enter into the city. And a lad saw them and told Absalom, and the two went quickly and entered into the house of a man in Baurim, and he had a cistern in his courtyard, and they went down there. And the wife took and spread out the covering over the face of the cistern, and dried Araphoth on it, and not a thing was known. And the servants of Absalom came to the woman into the house, and they said, Where are Achimaas and Jonathan? And the woman said to them, They passed by a little way from the water. And they searched and did not find, and they returned to Jerusalem. And it happened after they departed, that they came up out of the cistern, and went and told King David. And they said to David, Set out, and cross the water quickly, for thus Ahithophel counseled about you. And David set out, and all the people who were with him, and they crossed the Jordan until the morning light. Not even one went unnoticed, who did not pass through the Jordan. And Ahithophel saw that his counsel did not come to pass, and he saddled his donkey, and set out and departed to his house into his city. And he commanded his household, and hanged himself, and he died and was buried in the tomb of his father. And David passed through to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed the Jordan, he and every man of Israel with him. And Absalom set Amesi instead of Joab over the force. And Amesi was the son of a man, and his name was Jothor the Israelite. He it was who went in to Abigail, daughter of Naas, sister of Zeruiah, mother of Joab. And all Israel and Absalom encamped in the land of Galaad. And it happened when David came to Mahanaim, Uzbi, son of Naas, from Rabbah, of the sons of Ammon, and Machir, son of Amiel, from Lodabar, and Berzeli the Galadite, from Rogelim, brought 10 beds and double-sided rugs, and 10 cauldrons and earthen vessels, and wheat and barley, and wheat meal, and barley meal, and beans and lentils, and honey and butter and sheep, and sephoth from cows. And they brought them to David and the people with him to eat, for they said, The people are hungry and faint and thirsty in the wilderness. And David inspected the people who were with him, and set over them officers of thousands and officers of hundreds. And David sent out the people, 1/3 by the hand of Joab, and 1/3 by the hand of Absalom, son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, and 1/3 by the hand of Ethi the Gethite. And David said to the people, Going out I will go out, and indeed I with you. And they said, You shall not go out, for if in flight we should flee, they will not set heart upon us. And if we should die, even half of us, they will not set heart upon us. For you are as we are, 10,000, and now it is good that you will be a help for us in the city to help. And the king said to them, Whatever pleases in your sight I will do. And the king stood close by the gate, and all the people were going out in hundreds and in thousands. And the king commanded Joab and Absalom and Ethi, saying, Spare for my sake the lad Absalom. And all the people heard when the king commanded all the commanders concerning Absalom. And all the people went out into the forest opposite Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. And the people of Israel fell there before the servants of David, and the slaughter was great in that day, 20,000 men. And the battle took place there, spread about over the face of all the country. And the forest exceeded in devouring of the people, more than those whom the dagger devoured among the people in that day. And Absalom met face to face in front of the servants of David. And Absalom was mounted on his mule, and the mule entered under the thick branches of the great oak, and his head was hung in the oak, and he was hung between heaven and earth, and the mule under him passed on. And one man saw and told Joab and said, Behold, I have seen Absalom hanging in the oak. And Joab said to the man who told, And behold, you have seen. Why is it that you did not strike him to the ground? And I would have given you 10 pieces of silver and 1 belt. But the man said to Joab, Even I am, should I weigh on my hands 1,000 shekels of silver, I would never lay my hand upon the son of the king. For in our ears the king commanded you and Absalom and Ethi, saying, Protect for my sake the lad Absalom, to do no wrong to his life. And no word from the king will escape notice, even you shall stand opposed. And Joab said, I will begin this, I will not wait thus in your sight. And Joab took 3 spears in his hand, and planted them in the heart of Absalom, while he was still alive in the heart of the oak. And 10 lads bearing the weapons of Joab surrounded and struck Absalom and put him to death. And Joab trumpeted with a horn, and the people turned back in order not to pursue after Israel, for Joab was sparing the people. And he took Absalom and threw him into a great chasm in the forest, into the great pit, and set up a stele over him, a very great heap of stones. And all Israel fled a man to his covert. And Absalom, while still alive, also set up for himself the stele by which he was taken, and set it up as a stele to take, the stele that is in the valley of the king, for he said, He has no son for the sake of remembering his name. And he called the stele Hand of Absalom until this day. And Achimaas son of Zadok said, Do let me run, and I will carry good tidings to the king, that the Lord has vindicated him from the hand of his enemies. And Joab said to him, You are not a man of good tidings in this day, and you shall carry good tidings in another day. But in this day you shall not carry good tidings, because the son of the king has died. And Joab said to Cushi, Proceed, tell the king what you saw. And Cushi did obeisance to Joab and went out. And Achimaas son of Zadok continued further, and said to Joab, And let it be that I may run, and indeed I after Cushi. And Joab said, Why is this that you run, my son? Come on, by going you have no good tidings for gain. And he said, So what if I will run? And Joab said to him, Run. And Achimaas ran the way of the Kekar, and went beyond Cushi. And David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the lookout went to the roof of the gate, at the wall, and lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, a man running alone before him. And the lookout shouted and told the king. And the king said, If he is alone, there are good tidings in his mouth. And he kept running, going and drawing near. And the lookout saw another man running. And the lookout shouted to the gate and said, Behold, another man running alone. And the king said, And indeed he is bringing good tidings. And the lookout said, I see the running of the first one as the running of Achimaas son of Zadok. And the king said, He is a good man, and indeed he will come for the purpose of beneficial good tidings. And Achimaas shouted and said to the king, Peace. And he did obeisance to the king on his face on the ground and said, Blessed be the Lord your God, who shut up the men who hate their hand against my lord the king. And the king said, Is there peace for the lad of Absalom? And Achimaas said, I saw the great multitude, so that Joab sent off the slave of the king, even your slave, but I knew not what was there. And the king said, Turn aside, be set up as a stele here. And he turned aside and stood. And behold, Cusi came and said to the king, Let my lord the king receive good tidings, for the Lord has vindicated you today from the hand of all who were stirred up against you. And the king said to Cusi, Is there peace for the lad of Absalom? And Cusi said, May the enemies of my lord the king, and all who rose up against him for evil, be like the lad.